A new Conservative government will provide a non-refundable tax credit of 15% for any income earned under the EI maternity and parental benefit programs. So someone making around $50,000 who goes on EI maternity leave benefits would save around $4,000 directly in their pocket.
That was Andrew Scheer reintroducing the Conservative Party's plan for maternity benefits. He says if he is elected Prime Minister in October, he'll essentially make them tax-free. The Conservatives first proposed the plan early last year, and Scheer tried to get it through as part of a private member's bill this spring. The Parliamentary Budget Officer found it would cost the Treasury at least $600 million a year. Who would benefit most from the plan, and will promises like this one work in the election? Time for the Power Panel to weigh in. In Vancouver, former Conservative Cabinet Minister Stockwell Day, political commentator and columnist Tiffany Gooch is in Toronto, and here with me in studio, political commentator and former NDP MP Françoise Boivin. Hi, everybody. Hi. Nice to see you. Tiffany, I'll start with you because, the political strategy behind this is, this is something that they've already introduced, but obviously upping it. There's a theme here. They're talking about affordability and making the cost of living or easing the burden of the cost of living. I will say, and we'll get into this a bit later, that Jennifer Robson has done a lot of the crunching of the numbers, and it seems to benefit you more as your income goes up. What do you think about, who this is aimed at winning over and whether or not it will work?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, it's always been important for the Conservatives to start talking about things that they're going to do and proactively. And so, this doesn't come as a surprise. They talked about this as the private member's bill was going through. So it very much a re-announcement of sorts, but looking to speak directly to Canadians and the things that they're talking about right now. And I would say as a young professional that's thinking about growing a family, anything that sort of touches young parents and potential parents really becomes an election issue as those are, starting to think about how they grow their families. That said, I think that there's a lot here to be said about ensuring that those families that are most vulnerable are getting the support that they needed, and that there's an approach that takes into account families that are really in need. And so I'd say when we're really talking about how those people are helped, we know that upfront cash is more helpful than sort of rebates and tax situations that are complicated, and especially depending on if you're self-employed. And really, I think there's a misunderstanding in some ways of the group that they're looking to speak to with this as sort of tax policy. It's just difficult to explain. So I can see where they're going, but think that it's likely that other parties will come out with ideas aimed at this group that are a little bit more conscious to what people are looking for, which is childcare and I think a sort of another approach to how families are supported.
What do you think, Stock? Do you think that the fact that the more money you make or the higher income bracket you're in, the bigger your maternity benefits, the more of a benefit you get from this announcement? Do you think that deflates the potential impact of it at all?
Well, I think that's a wrong approach, actually. It's like saying the more money you donate to charity, the more you're going to get for a refund. And I think a lot of people will go, okay. But the fact is...
Well, not with maternity. When you're getting maternity benefits, it kind of works like your company tops you up, and the more, lots of people are in a position where they don't get those top-ups. And they would be the ones you would imagine most in need of some help, right?
Yeah, I think what people are going to recognize is when you have a promise that you're going to get some easing of tax or you're going to get a benefit, and then the government taxes it away, you don't really find that out until about a year or so later. So here's Andrew Scheer saying, you know what, we're not going to tax it away. And the numbers are also clear that about 80% of middle-class families are paying more tax now than they were when Mr. Trudeau came into power. And this will assist. So being able to say, if you make around $50,000 a year, your saving is going to be $4,000. That's real money, any way you want to look at it. I think it's a good idea. Families can use that break, and this is real dollars. So I think it's going to catch some people's attention.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when you're saying that people under the Prime Minister now are paying more in taxes, is that from the Fraser Institute study? Because I think that didn't include, for example, like some of the bigger measures that the Liberals had initially announced. I think the Canada Child Benefit, maybe even the middle tax class tax cut. Like there was some missing data from that. Is that where you're getting that info from?
Well, the main data that's missing from the 80% are going to pay more is everybody's also going to be paying more through the carbon tax. So any any offset there is going to, is going to be, we're getting more than clobbered by.
I don't know if they're
carbon
paying
tax.
the same amount in the carbon taxes they are getting back from the Canada Child Benefit, but I take your point, Stockwell. Françoise, what do you think?
Just the fact that we're having that discussion and all the details and the numbers, I'm sure a lot of people are just completely lost. The devil is always in the details. Nobody can be against the fact that there is any type of tax breaks, but it's who will benefit, how many people will benefit. It's not really sure, depending on which side of the fence that you are. And for some people, it's going to be richer people. Others, it's like they don't even qualify for EI, because we have to see who qualifies for it.
Well, like small business owners.
They're self-employed, like Stephanie was talking about. They have to reach certain levels before they can even claim it. So, but it's an effort to encourage Canadians to have more kids. So we see who they're aiming that measure to. They already have the child benefit break from the Trudeau government. I don't think the argument on one side saying, oh, it's going to cost I don't remember the number you said, but something
600 million.
600 million. When you compare
the tax benefit costs a lot too. Yeah,
a much
the child
more
benefit,
in
yeah.
billions and
Yes.
tens of billions of dollars. So, but it's just an example of what we're going to hear day in, day out, and multiply this from every political parties and all their promises. But we see who they're aiming their things at. It's families, probably young families with children, or in the process of having kids, and that's so conservative.
But I think, like Stockwell said, isn't there? I mean, I take your point, Tiffany. I'd love to know what you think. But isn't there sort of there is a level of anxiety among a lot those types of young families and many others about how much things cost and how much their life costs. I'm not attributing that to one political party or another, but it seems already evident that every political party is going to be focused on that kind of thing in this election.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to see a lot of affordability at the center of each of the policies that come forward, and for each age bracket and those that are going through different life stages. And so this is one of them, but I think until we've been able to see it sort of stacked comparatively to what we see from other parties, because that's sort of one of the first things that's coming out to be re-announced in this effort. But I would say comparatively, some of these other pieces likely will be more just easy to grasp for people, especially when it's upfront. When you're dealing with anxiety around money, your tax benefits don't necessarily come first to mind in terms of affordability for life on a day-to-day basis.
And don't forget the recession that is looming. What is happening in the States?
Huge conversation right now.
It's a huge conversation, because when you put all those affordability matters, the day-to-day, the cost of fruits, of vegetables, of everything.
It's not cheap, yeah.
Exactly. Canadians, before they're going to go vote, and will hear all those promises and see the amounts racked up versus the debt that we have. We'll remember the 1990s of Jean Chrétien's years, and how we had to cut and cut harshly in the public force and so on. So people still have this fresh in their memory. So I think we're still not sure what the wedge issue will be, but I think it's going to go around this, and who's more credible with, and so far nobody is.
Last word to you, Stock, before we take a break.
Yeah, to Francois' point, and also Tiffany mentioned the stacking up here. Somebody just tabulated that in the last 6 weeks, the Liberals have made 357 spending commitments, the majority in Liberal ridings. So at some point, to what Francois is saying, people are going to, I think, start to be listening a little closer, and that's where I think also a direct tax benefit like a maternity benefit, at least that's going to be something people say, okay, it's coming to all of us, it's not just where you live, and I think it'll gain some traction on that.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video. Thanks for watching.